Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. This is Emily of Emily Barton Paints. Today I wanted to show you how I paint these lovely cosmos flowers with a loose background. I would say that this tutorial is appropriate for beginner to intermediate artists. Here are the supplies I'll be using. I'll be leaving that list below with more details about that. Here I am swatching out my colors. The first one I'll be using is an Opera Pink by Daniel Smith. It is a bright pink. And then the next one I'll be using is Quinacridone Rose, which is like a deeper reddish pink. And you don't have to use the same colors. I'm using whatever you have in your toolbox is fine. The next one I'm using is going to be a Dioxazine Purple, but of course you can use Ultraviolet Purple. The next one is Ultramarine Blue. Next up we have Sap Green. And last but not least, a lemon yellow. And I'll leave a list of these pigments below as well. So I've left a photo of the sketch that I am using for this painting. So feel free to use that and transfer it onto your watercolor paper. The first step I'm doing in this painting process is using my masking fluid to block out all the flower shapes and their stems, because we are going to be doing a loose background and I don't want to have to worry about going around the edge of each flower. I want to be able to just freely drop in color, so the masking fluid helps protect those areas that I don't want to fill in with paint right away. And I'm just speeding up the process here. I'm using Winsor and Newton masking fluid, which I think is a great high quality masking fluid. I have had issues with other masking fluid in the past that I've had trouble with just peeling off when I'm done with it and then ruining the paper underneath. So I highly recommend using high quality masking fluid and also high quality paper too. That will definitely give you better results if you go with high quality materials. Okay, so after all that masking fluid has dried, I am going in with clean water with my size 12 round brush, dropping in water around the edges. We are going to be doing a wet on wet background, and I am not taking the water all the way to the edges. I like that irregular border. Starting with my ultramarine and purple, dropping those in around the flowers and in the background in a very loose way. And where I live, it is very dry. I live in northern Arizona in the high mountain desert, so I am working very quickly so that my paper doesn't dry out too fast. The next color I'm using in the background is some Quinacridone Rose mixed in with a little bit of my purple. And lastly, the last color I'm using for the background is going to be a little bit of Sap Green just around those areas of the stems and leaves, just to give an illusion of depth and leaves in the background. So once that background is dry, I am going to remove the masking fluid. I use the tip of my finger just to rub it off. You can also use an eraser if this is really uncomfortable, but again, you're going to have an easier time if you use high quality masking fluid. Okay, so I've removed all my masking fluid. So next up, I'm going to be taking my size 12 round brush and some clean water and filling in the flower shape up top with some clean water. And I'll be taking my Opera Pink and putting that in for the first layer. And I'm going in with a very translucent value for this first layer, and then also dropping in some Sap Green for that little stem area. And then next taking a translucent version of Quinacridone Rose and dropping that in the darker value areas to give the illusion of the darker petals. And then I'll be just kind of repeating that step with each flower, except for the flowers that are open and you can see the opening. I am dropping in a little bit of lemon yellow for the center of the flowers. After that first layer has dried, I am going in with a little bit of Quinacridone Rose mixed with Dioxazine Purple to do some of the outlines of each petal. I've kind of done this intuitively. I'm not going by any specific reference photo, but you can certainly use the drawing that I provided in the description to kind of help you separate each petal and know where the separation occurs, so you know where to put the shadows basically. And I am using a smaller brush here, my size 8 round brush. For the next part, I'm going in with a darker version, more opaque version of my Quinacridone Rose and Purple mixture and doing some of the little veins that you see in these flowers. For the next step, I am doing the stems and the leaves. Just putting in a little bit of water first and then going in with the light translucent version of Sap Green, then dropping in some Ultramarine as well. So I've waited for that last layer to dry, moving on to the final step, which is just adding in a little bit more contrast and making sure that the flowers look a little bit more interesting, going in with a more or less watered down version of Dioxazine Purple and going around in some of the corners of the flower, especially in the inner parts of the flower where you would see more shadow. And I'm keeping the shapes and strokes really irregular to make sure that it looks very organic. I'm not being too precious and overly detailed and perfect with all of my brush strokes here. Adding in just a darker version of Ultramarine and Sap Green for the stems. So that does it for this tutorial. If you've enjoyed it, please let me know in the comments. Don't forget to subscribe, and I will see you guys in the next video. Thanks for joining. Bye.